Next up is 465. I heard a fly buzz when I died. This may be her most famous poem, and it's incredibly famous for a reason. The basic setup of this poem is really brilliant. There's this person who's on their deathbed, they're about to die. I heard a fly buzz when I died. The stillness in the room was like the stillness in the air between the heaves of storm. Such a beautiful image, right? The idea of like the storm coming in, and but there's the stillness in between the heaves. Everybody has cried their eyes out. The eyes around it wrung them dry, and breaths were gathering firm. Everybody's just like waiting with bated breath for that last moment. All the keepsakes had been willed away. Everything had been like given away and all that, and everybody's just waiting for death. And they're at that exact moment, the exact moment where death is going to happen. There's a fly, and a fly buzzes. And it says, there interposed a fly with blue, uncertain, stumbling buzz between the light and me, and then the windows failed, the windows being the eyes or the sense or the mind, and then I could not see to see. So one thing I think is great about Dickinson is how just ironic and hilarious she is. A lot of times people have this mistaken impression that she's like really dark, right? That it's like, oh, she only talks about death and it's all sad and it's all morbid. And yeah, she does talk about death a lot, and there is a way to view that as sort of a darkness. It's definitely something that she seems like obsessed with in a sense. But the way she talks about it, a lot of times there's a comedy to it, like an absurdity. That it's like, oh, here's this person on their deathbed, and then like, oh, there's a fly buzzing. That's kind of hilarious. And it forces us to consider, what does a fly mean, right? Like, what if it was a different animal? What does a fly represent? And also just this notion of, the fate of reality, the fate of that, the corpse sort of represented by the fly versus the fate of the soul, which maybe, has some sort of, greater future ahead of it. So there's lots of stuff in there, and just tons of other things to consider, like the idea of when the king be witnessed in the room, whether the king already there, is the king only there like at the moment of actual death, can that be seen by anyone, signed away, what portion of me be assignable, idea of willing away your keepsakes, what can be kept and what must be given away, is there any point to having possessions in this life if ultimately they all must be left behind? This isn't like an Egyptian pharaoh thing where you're buried with your possessions and you get to bring them with you. We sort of have to give them away. Then there are even other like more sort of minor things that you could really look into. Like, for example, here in the last stanza, the word light, right? Like, we see how Dickinson is very willing to capitalize words that she believes are important or that have, greater sort of meaning, right? But here at the end, light, she does not capitalize. Like, what is she trying to say by not capitalizing light there? Is she sort of diminishing the idea of heaven or diminishing the idea of salvation or enlightenment? Who knows, right? Because we can't ask her. So lots of interesting things going on there. Definitely a truly brilliant piece of work.